Well, let's get into the conversation now. Nigeria's economy has been described as both volatile and unstable in the year under review due to its many economic challenges, with its prospect for growth dampened by the forex crisis earlier in the year to inflationary pressure, low crude oil production, and impacts of Russia-Ukraine war, amongst others. Well, in this review of the government's economy and government's policy effort and indicators, iBrandTV takes a look at how the economy has performed with regards to President Muhammadu Buhari's fiscal policies. Now, so let's get talking now. Ariola Dindi again joins me now for more. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you.
You need to train with my title.
Yeah, Mr. Are. Ariola Dindi.
I got you there.
I mean, of course, I got it the first time, but apologies for that promotion.
No problem.
You were here earlier, and of course, you were really, willing to talk about the performance of the economy. Especially with regards
non-performance of the economy.
Well, I mean that's your own word, but of course, we're on
different sides of
we
the
know
coin.
that the economy, of course, the GDP went as high as 3.5% in the second quarter and about 2.5% in the third quarter. I mean that's growth, of course. That's an indication that that there's an improvement in the recovery of economy. But you can describe it in your own word. So how will it? Let's get started.
Okay.
I mean the assessment of some of the policies of the government in the year and where we are now.
Now, I'm not going to be speaking in bits and pieces about fiscal, monetary, and all of that. I'm looking at the economy wholesale, okay, to make it easier for our listeners at home to follow what I'll be saying. In basic economics, the chief determinant of a performing economy is the ability of the people, their purchasing power. A situation where the minimum wage, 30,000 naira, cannot buy a bag of rice, leaves so much to be desired. You may want to say that why must the man on 30K buy a bag of rice? Even if he's going to buy a quarter or half, it will still impact on his meager income and leave him with a little less to cover other things. That's one. Number two, the level of insecurity that has driven our farmers away from the farm has led to the rise of the cost of food, because the few who are farming, they now sell at a higher cost. Why? They also need more money to buy their inputs to settle bandits before they'll be allowed to run their farms. I'm not speaking statistics, I'm talking reality. Now, number three, I have stopped following statistics. Why? In statistics, governance, economic management is about people, not about figures. You can be saying we have growth rate of 3%, 4%. How does it impact on the average man on the street? A situation where, imagine now.
But those figures are, necessary.
They are necessary
to look at, to make your forecast,
for me,
to analyze the economy,
for me,
where it is headed,
and
how you can perhaps, put some measures in place to address the shocks.
But their conjectures arrived at after projections we do not add up. Let's be basic about these things. Economics is not rocket science. No matter how bad, every Nigerian that passed through secondary school had basic economics, so they can understand how these things run. The worst part of it is our inability to process our crude oil. Imagine if Nigeria now supplies aviation fuel, kerosene, diesel, and petrol to other parts of the world, instead of exporting our crude and now going to buy at a higher cost. I can liken Nigeria to a farmer that has gari. Gari is already made, okay? And all he needed to do was a stove to make hot water, and eba can be made for his family. But because he could not maintain his stove, he had to give a ton of garri to another person who has stove to make a bar, which of course will be sold to him. Does it make sense? That is the classic case of Nigeria right now. And the net effect is that we have more naira chasing fewer dollars. If we are to have been earning dollar or euro and pounds through our production, our export activities, the reverse would have been the case. Naira today is possible, could be at par with the dollar.
Right.
But we are such, we've just been so cornered. And you know, when you are the point of weakness, you have no say. That's why they come and tell us they imported at this price, they have to add all of these charges, and then petrol now becomes, it shouldn't have been. And that has direct impact on virtually everything. Now the landlord will spend more money to commute, and then he will increase his rent. The food seller will pay more to move his things from the farmlands to the city. Of course, it will increase his cost. We can go on, and so also virtually all service providers.
Now, is there something that the government could have done differently? Because I know they talked about this is not about Nigeria. Nigeria is not in isolation. There's a global effect to this particular challenges as well. But is there something that you think that the government could have done differently from what they are doing now?
Our problem preceded the current challenges facing the world. We only worked ourselves into it, pretending to have been okay before and now being negatively impacted. Let me tell you, I have been studying very closely global peace and security with special emphasis on Russia and Ukraine. And there's a TV platform where I speak every Friday. The point is, how do you explain to your son, or little son, that a crisis in Ukraine, thousands of kilometers away, led to the increase in the cost of bread here? It has to happen because the grains, wheat in particular, that was coming from there for our bread industry wasn't available. And the local farmers too couldn't go to the farm. You see, when these problems are allowed to fester, they have round-robin effect on virtually every aspect of our economy. And when you say our economy, it will affect our people. So, for instance, if government had been able to build refineries as we were promised by Mr. President in 2015, the story would have been different. Number two, it's still painful that in some parts of the country today, they pay for electricity and what they get in return is darkness. Very few communities can tell you they enjoy optimum electricity supply. That's a second one. And of course, our financial situations too is not helped by the fact that more money goes into export. Number four, the cost of governance in Nigeria is outrageous. It's too humongous. There is nowhere that you can expend 70% of your annual income on recurrent expenditure, leaving 30 to pay just debt, and of course grow the infrastructure and of course capital projects. It won't work, and we are so heavily indebted now. We are owing.
Okay, I'm going to allow you to go in a moment, but let's look at these. Elections are here. The presidential election is just about less than 8 weeks to go, if I want to put it that way. Now, what are your expectations? What are you looking at in the coming year? I know you talk about good governance. I know you talk about what we should be looking at, what we should address with regards to putting the economy on the path of growth again. Right. So what are your expectations? What are you expecting to see from the presidential candidate, in terms of their campaigns and their manifesto and the body languages? So what are your expectations?
Thank you very much. We will not deny that we have leading lights among the presidential candidates. There are those whose heads are above the shoulders of the rest. I would have expected them to ignore the brickbats they are throwing at themselves, abuses and insults, and begin to address us frontally on a day-to-day basis. For instance, identify our specific challenges,
Right.
and come up with workable, practical, sustainable solutions. Okay? Whereby we can be sure that, oh, if this were to be so, of course, there will be benchmarks whereby the matrix can be measured. You can see whether you are having adverse or favorable developments in all of these things. So these are the areas to go. They should stop the big bets, the fighting. We don't need it. What we want is, okay, I know your problems is power, is electricity, and is fuel, is this, is that. These are the steps I will take to resolve them. If we can have this, and then we can question them.
So they have to be practical.
They must be real with us. There's no time for storytelling anymore. No, we don't want things like the moonlight. Give us the specifics. You told me that we'll be on air by 10:30, and I told you I'll be here by 10, and I made sure I got here by 10. So the same attitude and approach should be given to governance across the board, from the council to the gubernatorial to the presidential. Everybody should be, they should set to work, roll their sleeves and get to work. See how they can reduce the cost of governance. It's also an issue anyway. And of course, we have too many leakage points. We pay too much for little. That is corruption. That has to be frontally tackled.
I think we'll have to leave
It's
it there.
important.
Thank you so much, Reari Oladendi. Thank you so much for your time on Business Breakfast. And enjoy the rest of the day and the holiday,
I will
must say. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You're still watching Business Breakfast, coming to you live from us this year. Still to come after the break, we'll take a look at what experts are saying with regards to the performance of the economy in 2022 and expectations in the coming year. Well, let's take a break now. We'll return for Sarah's conversation after this timeout. Please stay with us.